BigFooty Blues.
BigFooty Blues. BigFooty Blues. Turn the BigFooty Blues.
And we are back. That's right. You thought you'd seen the last of us for the year, but we couldn't sing Auld Lang Syne without giving you episode 19 of the 2015 BigFooty Blues podcast. This is the Who the Hell Is That List Changes edition. I'm ODN, and with me tonight, a rookie draft pickup. He's a small forward who does his best work from the goal square because he has a suspect kicking action and a penchant for flipping the bird at the opposition cheer squad. Please welcome ferrisb.
Hello, everyone.
He demanded we select him because he's a mobile tall with a big tank. I'm not talking endurance. He actually threatened us with an M1A1 Abrams Army tank. Please welcome ShanDog.
G'day, guys. How you doing?
The following pair of panellists were believed to be selling candy all over the place when they pulled off a massive deception by inviting people to a garage sale or something like that, but instead they ended up tying the knot. While that may not be entirely accurate, it is believed the scandal rags are having a ball with rumours of moral depravity running rife in the Fijian Islands. Glad you two could surface and grace us with your presence, Mebby and HBF.
Hello!
Nice to be back. Hi, guys.
All true, yeah?
Very true, yeah.
Most of it?
Yes, I own a tank.
You own a tank. I knew you did. I just knew it. Boys and their toys.
I'm currently flipping the bird, so we're all square.
Accuracy abounds. All right, guys, look, it's been a long time since our last podcast. Well, sorry, our last podcast that actually recorded and we played to you.
Yeah, my bad.
So we've had a hell of a lot of changes around the place. I think last time we spoken to you, we had only just been sort of fresh into the appointment of Brendan Bolton and
Fev just left, I think.
Fev just left. It might have been something like that. Kenny Hands had just retired. Something anyway. So we're gonna just run through all the players that have left the club. We've had 15 list changes, so 15 out, 15 in. That's a massive amount. That's 1/3 of our list, and I don't know the last time we got rid of that many players in one hit. So obviously the club is serious about this rebuild. There's let there be no doubt about that whatsoever. All right, let's just run through the players that have gone. Retired, Chris Judd, Andrew Carazzo and David Allard. We sort of knew Chris Judd was going to go, but bit of a sad day to see a couple of those names go, people.
Wasn't sad. Everyone buy Judd's book. It's actually quite an interesting read, like to see his impressions of Carlton when he first got there and his impressions as he's kind of walking out the door and how the club has changed and how it hasn't changed in some ways. It's quite interesting. And I was very sad to see Carazzo hang his boots up because he's been a Carlton player pretty much my whole adult life, but I guess we kind of saw it coming anyway. So, out with the old.
I note that they've rested the number 5, the number 44 for next year. I'm not sure if it's 46 been rested. I think no, somebody's in that. But,
right.
Yeah, so 5 and 44 have been rested, so that's a great tribute to the careers of Judd and Carazzo.
Just on that, I mean, I guess on face value, you hear Judd and Carazzo are two of the senior players, but obviously Juddy didn't play that much. Carazzo played, I think, 16 games this year, but I suppose someone like Nick Graham will get more of a run, and Sam Kerridge, etc. So it's two senior guys, but it's probably not losing as much as we normally would. So not a big impact, I don't think, next year.
It was the right time, yeah.
Yeah, not a big step down from 2015 to 16 when you consider the output of these guys at the end of their careers here. We also lost Matthew Watson, Robert Warnock, Cameron Giles, Nick Holman, Blaine Johnson, Brad Walsh, Tom Fields and Fraser Russell. They were all delisted. Couple of people a little bit upset about a couple of those names, but no major dramas with any of those.
I was surprised and disappointed about Holman. Thought he was a bit stiff.
Yeah,
I agree with that. I think he showed enough last year to warrant even a re-rookieing. I always kind of look at it as if, even if he was the second round pick in the rookie draft, I don't know whether we'd get better than him at what would essentially be maybe pick 100 or 110. So I think he's a bit stiff, but every other change I think we saw coming.
Yeah. We had a massive trade week, or trade 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever it was.
Yeah, we lost quite a few, didn't we? It was probably, for me, Tom Bell was the one that was saddest to see go.
I don't think you can begrudge Tom Bell wanting to go back to Brisbane to be with his dad. So I think, I think the club did what they could to get him there, and they did. The other three, look, all had their reasons to want to leave, but if they didn't want to be there, if they didn't want to pull on the jumper, then, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out, I say.
And I think with Bell, it was not only is it most understandable having a reason to go, but I think we all it seems like the board begrudges him the least because he had such a good year and looked like he put in such an effort and he'd improved and didn't leave anything out there, even though he might have known a while ago that he was heading out the door. He had his best ever season, whereas the other guys were fairly ordinary compared to their potential.
Yeah. Worth noting that Troy Menzel was that was more pushed out the door in the end by Carlton. I think he was probably happy to go back home in the end and always felt like he was always going to head back to South Australia or over to Geelong or something like that. But because he's out of contract next year, but it was our choice to trade him in the end. But no surprises that Yaron, Henderson, and Menzel were three of the names that we looked at as being probably not giving their all on field during the year, going missing a fair bit and not living up to on-field standards. So certainly a message being sent there.
Yeah, and everyone who had a go at me for saying that Menzel looked disinterested and petulant can eat my shorts because he's gone now.
Oh, thank you, Bart Simpson.
No, seriously, I was trying not to swear.
Cowabunga, maybe.
I was trying not to swear, but they can get
Oh, the censor costs money, Meb. Far out.
Yeah, well, I'll send you $2 in the post.
She said bucks then, okay, so you don't need to edit that out.
I said
That's even worse. Bucks.
I said
Get the swear jar out, HBF. Just put it out in front of.
That doesn't work.
No.
One extra thing on those players that were traded out as a group, I think it was pretty obvious that we needed some kind of rebuild, and that some people had advocated for a scorched earth policy, and or somewhere in between. We were never going to get any value from trading out Cade Simpson and Andrew Walker, and you don't want to push those guys out of the great servants out of the club, and you don't want to trade out your valuable players like a Cripps or a Doherty, as an example. But those middle-aged players in that sort of 22 to 26-year-old group that have shown something, had value, I think we probably cashed in just about every valuable asset. So it wasn't just the fact that those players wanted out or weren't that good this year. It was if we were ever going to move up in the draft, that was pretty much the only way to do it.
Yeah, I
Totally agree, yeah.
Stephen Saldoni did a fantastic job to bumping up our draft picks to 1, 8, 11 and 19 by getting rid of those 4 players and sort of just mixing and matching. Also brought in a heap of other players in those trades. So that probably players known for a little bit more of a work ethic and probably unfulfilled potential maybe. We'll talk about those players now. So during that trade period, we traded in Sam Kerridge from the Adelaide Crows, and GWS foursome Lockie Plowman, Andrew Phillips, Liam Sumner, and Jed Lamb. Any of those you're particularly excited about? Think we got a pretty good deal on?
Kerridge. I don't know too much about Kerridge, to be honest, but I think he must be from Bendigo because he knows a lot of my family and stuff, and they speak very highly of him, not as a gentleman, just as a really nice person. And it doesn't hurt to have too many gentlemen around. Sorry, the Sheik, I know you want mongrels. But, he seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders and like he'd be committed to it, is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, I thought he was a good footballer for a while. I remember when I think the first time he destroyed North Melbourne single-handedly. I was talking to, being someone who lives in Adelaide, I was talking to a mate who was a Crows supporter, and I was sort of saying, oh, where did this guy come from? How come you guys have got so many players who just seem to come in from the twos and are really, really good footballers? And I kind of was hoping that was someone we were going to poach over the years for a couple of trade seasons, and now it's happened. I'm pretty happy about that because I quite rate Kerridge, and more reports, it looks like he's going to fit in quite well with the club and be quite a handy pickup. The other one that I do like as well is Jed Lamb, just because it seems like his versatility as a forward and midfielder might be really what we need.
Yeah, and if you listen to the track watches, the likes of Kerridge and Phillips are really standing out at training. So Kerridge is right up there with our one of our best runners, and sort of taking over that Ed Curnow mantle. And Andrew Phillips apparently is just looking sensational out there. So people have got visions of another Source Jacobs on their hands or something. But, there's a reason these guys are playing twos and so forth at their previous club. They weren't getting regular games. So it's a matter of whether we can show them a plan and actually put the faith in them and help them to, lift their game to back to AFL standard again.
I actually really like Daniel Gorringe. Like a former high draft pick, 200 centimetre, a good athlete. So he essentially didn't cost us anything. So I think, if we can get something out of him, that'll be a bonus.
I have to admit, I haven't seen much of Gorringe, but I'm just wondering whether he's a footballer. I mean, he's a 200 centimetre guy that can run, but hasn't been able to nail down a spot in the ruck or up forward. He had to go in the midfield, and I'm just wondering whether, it's another, broadly speaking, another Sean Hampson that is a fantastic athlete, but just isn't going to make it anywhere.
There was somebody actually, I think it was on the Carlton board, mentioned that the one thing that he did like was game sense. So hopefully with our coaching panel, the way it's structured, that's a high focus on development. I'm hoping that, if they can get him to sort of learn game sense. I'm not sure how you learn it. Sort of comes automatic, I would have thought. We might have a player on our hands, but, he's cost us nothing really except a spot on our list. So really anything we get from him, I was sort of looking at it as a bit of a bonus.
Yeah, I mean, he's an athlete, so I'm just sort of wondering how we've taken away the sub now, so we're going to have the 4 interchange, less rotation. So I'm just wondering whether that benefits a Gorringe type a little bit more. So I guess that's all to play out, depending on the tactics that the coaches sort of put in place to deal with those changes. So Gorringe was a delisted free agent. The other delisted free agent we picked up on the last day of delisted free agency was Matthew Wright from the Crows as well. So he's more of a sort of outside mid, a bit of a small forward.
There was said that the Crows board seemed really upset at losing Kerridge, and they were saying that players like Matthew Wright and I think Nathan Van Berlo were getting games ahead of Kerridge, and they were all filthy about it all through the year. I don't think they were as upset to see Matthew Wright go. Maybe he doesn't have as much upside, but I'm certainly willing, not shooting him down, but willing to give him a go. But certainly, I always like to see how upset the other team is at losing a player. There's a little bit of a value up front, I guess.
Speaking of upset, little fun fact about Matthew Wright. 2 years prior to being drafted, Matthew Wright fractured his skull while he was hit by a glass bottle at a party.
Oh, harden up, mate.
I just read that on Wikipedia. I thought it was worth sharing.
Thank you. The interesting thing about picking up Wright as late as we did is that that actually took our senior list to 39, which means we can only have one nominated rookie this year. And I think we're all accepting that Cameron Wood wasn't going to be a nominated rookie because we've brought in Andrew Phillips and Gorringe and
Special K Mark II.
Exactly. So we've got a few options there now, but it does mean that one of the two Kierans, Kieran Sheehan and Kieran Byrne, won't get the nominated rookie spot, so they're vying for the same spot, and the other one's going to rely on a long-term injury to be able to get senior games this year. And it's a little bit of a surprise because they're both worthy of the senior list. They're both showing a bit. They've both got good kicking skills, and we were all excited. It's only the fact that between them, they got one quarter of football last year due to injury. So
I think that's what it's all about. They're being kept on the rookie lists for this year, just as a they need to actually show a little bit more before they get signed to the senior list, and it's only due to injury that they haven't been able to do that. So hopefully this year they'll both be up on the senior list, I think.
Yeah. The national draft, as I said, Steve Silvani did very well for us to end up with picks 1, 8, 11, 19, and we had 59, 60 at the back end. We drafted with the number one draft pick, and this was always going to happen, but Jacob Wiedering was our number one draft pick. Let's just talk about him by himself for a little bit. It's funny because we've been expecting it. Everybody's known all year that number one draft pick would be Jacob Wiedering. We didn't know until right in the last round of football whether it was, we expected we'd get them because Brisbane wanted Shaki, but we weren't sure originally during the season where we'd finish and whether we'd, finish low enough to get Wiedering. Once it was clear we were going to get there, we knew we were going to take him. And it's strange because all the other draftees and pickups have sort of generated more conversation than Wiedering since the draft, probably because we kind of just took it for granted a little bit that we were going to get him.
I think him himself, the pick of Wiedering was quite boring because we knew it was happening. I was quietly hoping for something random, like we pulled out the Blaine Bokhurst equivalent of pick 1. But it didn't happen, and so I was like, well, that's a letdown.
But also, I think Wiedering himself doesn't lend himself easily to conversation. The conversation is about how boring he is and how he's a nice guy and he goes home and he goes to bed and he gets up and he does what he needs to do. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't go out and grab boobs or anything like that. He just plays football.
He didn't break his skull from a glass bottle at a party prior to getting drafted.
Yeah, well.
Look, I think we need the draft watcher HPF to actually give us a little bit on Jacob because he's more than just his personality.
You'd hope so.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's he doing playing football?
Look, I only saw Wiedering a couple of times this year, and to sort of simply sum him up, just think Harry Taylor. He plays so similar to Taylor. He marshals the troops down back. He's good in the air. He's got a good kick on him, and he can go forward. He probably isn't as competent forward as what Taylor is, but essentially that's the player that we've got. We've got a 10 to 12 year key backman on our hands, genuine size at 195, I think he is. So. We will not lose with this guy. He, if not for free
he's an elite kick, 15.1 beat test.
Yep.
So elite endurance as well. He's right up there in all these sort of standing jumps and sort of categories at the draft combine. And he's the oldest 18-year-old I've ever heard of. The guy seems to have the wisdom of a 70-year-old.
And the personality of a wet brick, yeah. He's got some serious man legs, though. Like, I think he'll be pretty right to come in and start playing fairly early.
That's what I'm looking at. He's got a bit of confidence that he's going to want to work his way into the side by round 1. Do we actually think he's going to play most of the season in the seniors? In his position, it's sort of something that doesn't happen very often.
Look, I've kind of been big on sort of not throwing him in round 1 if he's not ready. I just don't want the club to sort of fall for the excitement and just to throw him in if he's not ready. But look, I suspect he'll probably play anywhere between probably 10 to 15 games next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about the same. Yeah,
I agree.
With pick 8 or 10 or wherever it ended up, pick 10, I think after the academy bidding, we drafted Harry Mackay. It's important that we get the Mackay and not the McKay.
Correct.
A 200 centimetre, I guess, key position player of some sort, more a key position forward. Seems to be a bit more of a mobile tall, pinch hits in the ruck, just seems to be able to play tall all over the ground, but a lot of development still to come from him.
Yeah, he's pretty raw, and I think the one thing that stands out for me with him is someone who's sort of 200 centimetres a key forward. His kicking technique's pretty sound from what I can see. Sometimes you get kids that young that are that tall that their kicking can be a bit sort of wayward. For example, someone like a Tyrone Vickery. So look, I haven't seen a lot of McKay, to be honest, but from what I have seen, look, I like him. I'm glad we picked him up. We basically got a key back and a key tall in one draft. So he'll take a little while to develop, as sort of most skinny talls do. But again, with our coaching structure the way it is and high on development, look, maybe he might sneak a game or two in 2016, but I think 2017 is probably where it's at for him.
With pick 12, did Carlton pull off one of the greatest recruiting moves ever? I mean, Charlie Curnow was tipped to maybe go at around about pick 3 at various times. He'd sort of been up and down that top 10. He got himself in a little bit of trouble a few days out from the draft, and ends up at Carlton playing with his brother Ed, which I cannot be happier about. As far as Ed's obviously one of the most prepared and professional footballers we have. So if Charlie has any kinks to iron out, Big Brother's certainly going to do that. But I'm really excited about that particular selection.
Yeah, I think we've got almost a steal of the draft here. I think I was reading some Phantoms, or might have been on AFL.com or somewhere, that they had Curnow as high as 3 going to Melbourne. So, yeah, again, not someone that I've seen a lot of, but could almost play anywhere. 191, he's like just a bull. He just goes at the footy really hard and at the man really hard. So, yeah, I think we've got someone that could, a bit of a steal, and he's the one that possibly could play round 1 next year. I think I wouldn't be surprised to see him line up at all.
Yeah, you talk about Wiedering's thighs. Curnow's just... he's a tank.
Tell me about it.
Someone said tank.
Here he goes again.
Just looking at some of the photos of Curnow and Sosos as well, they look taller than the heights they're listed at. So I wouldn't be surprised if Curnow's a little bit taller than 191 or so. And there's also talk that he could play through the midfield. He seems to have shown more promise so far up front. He seems to be a bit of a marking beast, so to speak. And it's exciting to have him and Cripps as a giant midfield. But if he can play up forward, just leave him up forward, I think.
Yeah, it could be a very handy half forward for us.
Yeah.
I suspect that's where he'll start, Ferris. I reckon he'll start forward, and then he might just be part of those rotations that might give, Cripps or Murphy or Gibbs a bit of a chop out. So I wouldn't expect to see him play a lot in the midfield. Agree with you. I think he'll play forward majority of his first year.
This was touted before the draft, so we weren't too surprised when it happened. But Carlton reached a tiny bit for David Cunningham, but his highlights are fantastic, and we're looking at a lot of speed and evasiveness and a bit of a goal-kicking mid, and that's something that we could really do with. Happy with that selection?
I actually didn't know. I don't know anything about him, to be honest. I didn't really know of him prior to the draft, so I can only go by what you've seen as well, AD, and his highlights. And I really like that clip at training. I know maybe got a bit of a laugh about, maybe not a laugh, but she quite enjoyed it.
I got tears in my eyes. Oh, bloody loved it. That was awesome.
It was uplifting, wasn't it?
And
that's Brendan Bolton, and that's the spirit in the group. How often did you see when player would kick a goal over when Carlton have been down and out over the last couple of years, and player kicks a goal and he might get 1 or 2 that'll congratulate him, or sometimes nothing. Kick a goal, go back to the centre, nobody says anything, they're all dispirited. This is at training where the coach calls on a young boy to go and have a shot at goal, and it wasn't that hard a shot, it was only about 35 metres out straight in front, but still, the pressure's on, and just an excuse for the boys to get around him and make him feel part of the group. That was really good coaching and really good spirit from the group, and Geez, I tell you what, the club's coming out with these sort of motivating, inspirational type of videos and articles and stuff on a daily basis. They've really got their act together over this off season.
Sorry, I know we're all really excited to talk about Bolton, so we're probably all jumping in with the same stuff. But I think part of it has to be his learning and development background. He obviously understands young people. He understands what motivates them, and he understands how to engage them. And by putting Cunningham on the spot under pressure like that, when there's knocks on his kicking, he's really given that kid a chance to prove himself and set himself up with confidence to, yes, I belong here. And it's something that's so fresh to the club as well. Everybody can feel it. HBF and I went into the Carlton shop, and the guy who works there, he's worked there for years. He is so excited because he said everybody's engaged. Everybody comes in and says hello to every single person who works in the building. Like it's not the team and then everybody else anymore. It's all of them. They're all Carlton, and it's got a completely different feeling to the excitement and anticipation I've had leading into other seasons. This is like, oh, there's something brewing here. Something big's going to happen.
Speaking of tears, our final selection in the draft. We had Adrian Dodoro actually placed a bid for young Jack Silvani, the pick before Carlton's next pick. A little bit of banter really between the clubs, a little bit of fun, just keep them on edge. And naturally, Carlton matched the bid, and we have another Silvani playing for the Carlton Football Club. Oh my God!
Holy crap! Yeah, anything better than a Silvani playing for Carlton? I don't think so.
What about 3 Silvanis playing for Carlton?
don't build it up, man. Because if I get let down, oh.
Dude, I'm that excited and so high pitched about this that only dogs can hear me right now.
I posted probably maybe a few months ago now, and I'm not necessarily the most sentimental, emotional guy out there, but we're talking about a discussion about memberships, and someone mentioned Jack Silvani, and I said, look, I think this has the potential to be a real coup for the club. Obviously, you don't want to recruit him just for the name. He's shown enough talent. He kicked 6 goals in one of the state games, but he's still young and raw. But I told a little story that when I sort of grew up when Sauce was starting his career and I watched his career, my dad watched Surge, and that was something that him and I connected on when I was little, and my dad was telling me stories about how Sauce, he remembers watching Sauce's dad and back in the glory days, and it's actually like, this is something that I can share with my kids when Jack's hopefully hitting his straps in a few years, and I can tell them, put them on my knee, get out my pipe, and, back in my day, I remember watching his Poppy and all that kind of stuff. And so I think it's just amazing story. I think we're all just rooting for him, and the videos that they put when he was drafted with Joe and Serge looking completely nonplussed and bored.
Well, that was a whole part of a bigger story, and I've got to give credit to the club there. Just a couple of days out from the draft, there was a tweet that went out from, I think her name's Emily Anglin, and she's a Channel 7 reporter who said he's coming to the Carlton fold to do some special presentations. And I thought, well, that sounds pretty professional and pretty good, and get a Channel 7 reporter on board and all that sort of stuff. And that was the first presentation that she'd done. She obviously did interviews with with Jack and with Joe and with Serge, and just initially, right after that on the night, not long after they put out that initial reaction with Jack sitting at home with his mum, and the tears were flowing. Sort of at Carlton households around the country. You could just feel that emotion, and and when you talk about something big happening, maybe nothing really epitomised it more than that moment.
And that's not the first time an Angwin has stolen the show. But anyway,
well, Emily didn't break into Carl Morman's house to do this, but to go with that particular story, the Carlton media guys have put out the Silvani story video as well, just showing those 3 generations of what it means to be a Silvani, and it was extremely well narrated. It was extremely well put together, and just both of those combined, I don't mind admitting that I had tears in my eyes for about 2 days straight, and I don't know how many times I watched those videos.
Oh, but do you know what? The one thing that really makes me cringe is that photo they took of Serge, Stephen, and Jack, where they're like holding each other's faces. I can't look at it. It is so awful.
If I had any Photoshop skills, I wanted to get it and then put like Sauce doing his mark of the year, and just position them any more awkward than it already was. But
so bad. Just have the three of them standing up or something, or they can stand behind Serge, but he doesn't need to grab their heads. And they're cupping his chest.
I don't remember this, but it sounds awesome. I'm going to go and watch it.
Oh, Google it immediately.
It's going to end up like if you're on, the Age website or something, and it has that little article at the bottom where it says 10 awkward family photos. And you click on that, it's going to be number 1, I think.
Totally.
Does anybody remember all those occasions of little Jack running out with his dad before, 300th game and all that stuff? I just when I see those images, I remember all that. I remember the last game at Princess Park when he, I can't remember what he carried out, but when he came out before that game. I remember all that stuff, and you're thinking, that's the same kid who's now actually sort of living that dream. So it's marvellous stuff. We then had the rookie draft, and Carlton selected Jesse Glass McCasker.
That's a name.
Yeah, that's a name. I don't know if he's going to be JGM or GMAC or whatever he's going to be. Andrew Gallucci, isn't that a great Carlton name? And we sort of formalised the selection of big American Matt Korchak, who obviously came on board a couple of months earlier, but sort of his B category B rookie status was confirmed on that day. So again, small forward, and we've got a project fullback. HBF, you know much about Jesse?
No, I don't. I only really what I've sort of seen on highlights and what I've read on BigFooty. So I really don't know much about him at all. And same with Gallucci. I don't sort of watch a lot of VFL other than the occasional Northern Blues game. So their highlights look okay. Let's see how they go next year. I think there'll be a few of us watching some Northern Blues games next year, that's for sure, with the talent we've got into the club. I think it'll be pretty exciting next year.
I'm hoping McCasker, as a latecomer to the game, starts to do well and sort of makes all those who think that we should have taken Kieran Collins over David Cunningham because he was still on the board, sort of think twice. So let's hope so. It's nice to have a project tall defender.
And one that's not going to have any pressure on him either. He can just... I know he's only got a 1-year contract, but, again, I know I'm repeating myself, but with the development sort of coaches we've got, hopefully they can really fast track his development and see where he's positioned this time next year.
Just to HBF for a second, a quick shout out to you. You said you've only seen, the highlight videos and you've read about him on BigFooty, so you don't know anything about him. Are you kidding? I'm an expert, and that's all I've done. That's how it works on BigFooty. You're not supposed to actually have known anything about him, but I was really interested in the Collins you mentioned. We could have picked him maybe at 19, but potentially a fullback is someone that you can pick late in the draft. Don't spend big on a fullback, even if he's an elite junior prospect. It's not a great comparison, but it could be a Matthew Watson sort of thing. Maybe better off spending a rookie pick. It was talk he could go as high as 30, 35, and you've got a potential. I know they're all potential at the moment, but a potential fullback in GMAC, a potential centre half back in Wiedering, centre half forward and full forward, roughly with Curnow and Mackay. So it just seems really nice. We've covered a lot of bases.
Well, yeah, a lot of gaps plugged in one draft, isn't it? If they all work out, it's what a sensational draft. coaching wise, as I said at the start, we knew about Brendan Bolton when we did our last podcast, but we've since added to our coaching ranks Tim Clark, Shane Watson, Dale Amos, Josh Fraser as the Northern Blues coach. They've joined Matty Capuano and John Barker, who are the only ones that have survived the cull. And we just announced, I think was it today, that Ian Aiken, former Carlton player Ian Aiken, has joined as I think he's a development coach for the Northern Blues.
Oh, I actually hadn't heard that the old robot's back. So it's good to have another player from the 80s back.
Yeah, absolutely. Rookie of the year back in whenever it was.
87.
87, yeah.
Oh, far out, Rain Man, honestly.
Just broadly on the coaches. I mean, to be honest, I knew very little of the coaches individually, but collectively, apparently each of the coaches has coached their own team, and they're fairly young, and most of them have had some sort of development role before as well. So it just seems, if you're starting with a new group, it just seems like a really nice, clean collective, and that's, I think, what we all wanted, rather than poaching, someone like a Worsfold and a, sort of these, not quite has-beens, but name coaches. And we got Craig as the old wise head, and then a bunch of hopefully young, hungry guys. So I think it's exciting.
What shit truck of a club would recruit Worsfold again? We've also poached, and I don't remember his name. I didn't write this down, but it's one of these motivational psychologist type guys from Hawthorn. I saw a video where they sort of talk about well-being and getting players to look at their thoughts and how it affects performance and stuff like that. So it's all very psychological. But we've got this guy involved. So he has a good relationship with Brendan Bolton. So he's, if it's working, it's obviously whatever they were doing was working for Hawthorn. So it's good that we're actually able to maybe spread a bit of that magic fairy dust around Carlton. And I've always maintained that there's always been a certain mental fragility to our team, or probably for the last decade or so. But so just getting people on board that can provide that motivation and actually help players to maybe keep that confidence and remove that self-doubt and stuff like that. That's a good thing. What other changes we had? We appointed a new board member, Kate Jenkins, who's the Victorian Equal Opportunity and Human Rights Commissioner, and that's it's a little bit of a softening of the boys' club mentality at board level in Carlton. I know we've got Jenny Pratt there, but we generally don't have females on the board for whatever reason. It just does. It did smack a little bit of a gentleman's club type of feel to it, cigar smoking, leather seats kind of stuff. But
does that mean Jeannie is scantily clad and dancing, or?
Oh, she pops out of a cake every once in a while, apparently. But
I'm not going to be able to sleep for days.
Terrible.
Yeah.
But no, honestly, it's sort of it's. I mean, just looking at a resume, there's no token appointment there. It's just getting in people that you don't have to be a blokey football fan or anything like that. It's just embracing new ideas and different people with different backgrounds. And I think the way the AFL and is going as far as equal opportunity and human rights and all that sort of area, it's just perfect to get somebody like that on board. So I think she's a great asset to our board.
Yeah, I think if a board member can name 10 players of the club for which they're a board member, they're overqualified for the job. And I don't want you to care about football. I want you to do your business thing.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Then maybe they'll shut up and let the team get on with playing football, and they can take care of making us some goddamn money.
Yeah, it'd be good. Actually, I'd love to be in on those interviews. It's like this reverse trick question sort of thing. You're like, thank you for applying for the board of Carlton. Can you name me 10 players? And they get to 10 and they're all grinning. You're like, get out. I don't want you.
No, well, the other thing is that none of those 10 players will probably be at the club next year. So the way we're turning over the list at the moment.
Ooh.
Well,
That is bitchy.
No, maybe not next year, but we've just gotten rid of 15 players, so there's a lot of turnover at the moment.
Another thing we haven't discussed on the podcast, and it's happened some time ago now, and really deserved its own podcast. Our John Nichols Medal winner for 2015, Patrick Cripps, 23 games into his career. He's the youngest winner since Big Nick himself. What an effort!
How good was that close finish at the end too? It was exciting. I'm so happy for the young guy. It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, speechless.
Oh my God, you weren't speechless when he won. Gee whiz.
It would have been a blubbering mess.
Oh my God, I was on him before we drafted him.
He was patting himself on the back, was he?
Oh, for
Very
sure.
much so.
I think Scott Barrett to get somebody to pat him on the back for him. But anyway.
Basically, Cripps owes his John Nichols medal to HBS encouragement.
Damn straight he does.
And I'll tell you what, looking at him on the training track, how is he looking? Oh,
Delicious.
Yeah.
this guy, every off season he goes away and does something, but he comes back and you go, holy shit! I mean, he's one of the most driven players, and
Dreamy players.
Dreamy.
Yeah, no, he is dreamy.
He's one of those players that everyone, I mean, we're all sort of gushing over him and on the boards. It's just we can't say enough positive about him. And it's not just pure talent. It's, and he's a young inside mid, so it's not just natural flair. And we all know about what he did on the last off-season. And he just seems to have leadership written all over him and mature and hard-working. And it's the kind of player that you build a club around, really.
He makes me hungry whenever I see pictures of him.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something else.
Oh dear. Oh well, it's nearly 9. It's 10 o'clock in your time, so you can say whatever you like. But the interesting thing is, we look at all the excitement of the draftees that come in, the Wiedering and Mackay and Curnow and Jack Silvani, and we're looking at that, and we're looking at the players like Kerridge out there doing the stuff, and thinking, oh, maybe Lockie Plowman can live up to his number 3 draft potential, and we've got some small forwards in, and we've got all these extra talls in. We're a very tall side now, and we're looking at all that, and you go, oh yeah. And we still have Cripps. Like, holy shit. It's interesting that we've still got a lot of good players in that side that can really show something. But it's just with the added injection of enthusiasm coming from outside, he's not going to have to do it all on his own.
I think just to expand on that a little bit, we essentially get sort of almost 3 recruits that are already at the club as well next year. Like Thomas is apparently training the house down again. Cruiser, hopefully, we'll see for the majority of the season. And Gibbs, who hurt his shoulder in Bendigo last year, hopefully we'll see him for a full season as well. So, when you add those 3 guys as well, maybe 2016 isn't going to be so terrible as what we all think it might be.
Yeah, I'm quietly optimistic as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we're at least looking. We want to be competitive, and we want to keep developing. I mean, I guess people are still saying, oh, Carlton are going to be wooden spooners by a long way. That's the prediction on the BigFooty boards. And I guess last year when some people started suggesting that, we were thinking, no way, look at the players we've got. And then it happened, injury or other reasons, and, why it happened isn't really important. It actually happened. So now we've sort of trained ourselves to be a little bit, sort of keep that lid on a little bit and have sort of cautious optimism, thinking that we could do better and surprise everybody. But the thing is, if we're going to be down the bottom, we're doing it with a purpose. We are really going to be building properly.
Resetting properly.
Yeah, I mean, this is like GWS coming up, where you go, like, yeah, they might suck now, but I tell you what, in a few years' time, that's going to be an awesome side. And that's how I'm starting to feel about Carlton now, and the way we've done this. And we've done it so quickly. This first stage of this 66-game rebuild has happened so quickly. It makes you feel like we could be ahead of the curve.
Well, on that topic of being quick as well, I read an article today which was quite interesting that suggested that we're now going to be paying the minimum salary cap in 2016, and if you believe the reports from before, we're paying the max in 2015. So that just reflects how quick that turnaround has been.
Yeah, so that's just another area where we've reined it in, And look, yeah, we lost another 900,000, but we've had to, pay out a coach and sort of a loss of lesser crowds and loss of membership and stuff like that.
Injury payments, apparently.
Yeah, injury payments. Well, there's a whole lot of reasons for that to happen in a year like we had. Losing that much money is not unheard of. So, and I know we've had a couple of years losses in a row, but I just see that the sort of a little bit of buoyancy and the optimism that's out there and the sort of vibe around the supporter base, we'll get a lot of those members back, and some of them might wait to see whether we actually give a yelp on field, even if we lose, as long as we're actually giving 100% and we're attacking the contest, and showing a little bit of pride in the jumper, everybody will get back on board. So exciting times. And one last little teaser by the club. They're sort of got some plans or announcements in the works as far as Princes Park, and not so much our tenancy there, but it sounds more about the ground itself and our plans for it going forward. So I'm sort of very, very curious as to what that means, but I don't know whether the AFL is sort of going to inject some money into it, make a little bit of a boutique stadium. That would be quite interesting to have if sometime in the future Princes Park turns into an AFL venue again.
It'd be nice if they just started by giving the Richard Pratt stand a bit of a clean up. You walk through that. You walk through the bottom tier of that, and you almost need a hazmat suit on it. There's crap everywhere. So it'd be nice if they could just maybe get in a skip or two and just give it a bit of a tidy up.
Even just get rid of the bloody splinters. I'm sick of sitting on freaking bits of wood that stick in my butt. Like, there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
Just stop going there in a Lady Gaga outfit and you'll be fine.
It's just a little treat for Dillbucks. No, the thing is, people say, oh, yeah, let's have a boutique stadium, and that's fantastic. I'd love to see it happen. But when you actually go to Princes Park, it is miles off. The toilets have not been touched since our last game, I reckon. It was the last time they were cleaned. And they're not just dirty, but they're in a state of complete disrepair. The Melbourne Rebels has dumped shit everywhere under the stands. And so, there's bobcats and rugby pads and crap everywhere. The place is an actual dump. It's a dumping ground for people's shit.
We are getting ahead of ourselves, speculating on what that announcement might be. So it may not be anything like turning it into a ready-to-play stadium. But it's always interesting when they sort of give those little teasers, wondering what it might be. And as I said, the club are coming out with news almost every day. They're coming out with something that makes us go, oh, that's interesting. That sounds good. It's piquing our interest. It's keeping us in. This is one of the best off seasons I can remember.
Probably since Judd joined, I would have thought.
Yeah. That was we've not only got Judd, we've got a Silvani and a whole heap of others. So and just from where we've been to for us to be uplifted that fast. And it's only been 6 months, just over 6 months since we sacked Mick Malthouse, and we were as low as we could go. To turn things around that quick as far as the general vibe and the feeling in the future, what might happen, that's a testament to a lot of people at the club right now. So doing well, keep it up.
I'm sure everyone else has heard this, but apparently the other 2 times we've had a Silvani and a Mackay on our list, we've won premierships. So let's see if we can get it. Let's see if we can get a hat trick and do it again.
All right, I think we'll wrap it up there, folks. Thanks for coming in, ferrisb, for your first official podcast. You had this is your second one. The other one was on the cutting room floor.
I think that's where ShanDog's going to end up on if it doesn't record. Maybe he's going to go over there Dexter style, I think.
No, but I think if it doesn't record
everywhere.
If it doesn't record this time, Ferris, we'll think you're the jinx, mate, and we'll come after you.
Yeah, that's it.
You're dead, Ferris.
Say Ferris. Thanks, HBF.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Mevy.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Hey, before you
ShanDog.
go, just say not quite in person, but congrats to the newlyweds.
Yeah, well done, guys.
Can I just say this? I hope this doesn't sound creepy, but like I think the wedding kind of there's on the board. There's a kind of a feel that like it's like our HBF and Mebby are getting married. You know, it's our two little not quite kids have grown up, but we all sort of have seen you on the boards for a long time, and it's just
Well, it is ours. I mean, BigFooty introduced them.
Yes, and so
in the podcast and HBF sleazy coffee ways and stuff like that. I mean, there's a whole range of factors at play there, but that's why
We don't have to tell all our dirty little secrets, do we?
Well, ShanDog can cut out what he wants to be. And speaking of ShanDog, thanks again, ShanDog. Put your tank away, mate.
Okay, backing it up now. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody, and go the Blues 2016. Bye-bye.
All of my life, try to love you with all of my mind. I'm the soul challenger. I'm the